tax rebellion has been the single most important principle underlying all the successful rebellions in history. Magna Carta started with a tax rebellion. We will not pay the money until you agree to our demands. Non-violent, brilliant change. And the same with the English Civil War, American independence, French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, the Indian independence, Gandhi's salt tax rebellion. There's the Glasgow women's rent strike in 1915,
yep.
An important one, and the poll tax in late 80s.
NordVPN is becoming more than just a VPN. Threat protection will guard your device against malicious websites, malware, trackers, and intrusive ads, even if you're not connected to a VPN server at the time. Step up your cybersecurity and stay safe.
If you want to keep up with some of the craziness that's going on in the world, then subscribe to Ryland Media's Twitter account, twitter.com/RylandMedia. Hi everybody, this is Crypto Rich. Working with you to get rich with crypto, although I'm not doing that in this video. This is all about liberty and freedom and autonomy and us having a determination over our own lives and campaigning for our freedom and our liberty and our autonomy. Now, before I introduce my guest, please subscribe, follow me on Twitter, CryptoRichYT, join my official Telegram announcements channel, and come and subscribe to me on Odyssey, bit.ly/CryptoRichOdyssey. I post more videos there than I do on YouTube because YouTube censors, and not all this video is going to be on YouTube. First 5-10 minutes or so will be on YouTube, and then the rest of it will be over on Odyssey. And also, if you're watching this on Rumble, we'll come over to Odyssey because I have more material on Odyssey. Hey, Chris, thank you so much for making yourself available.
Delighted.
Yes, and you are, I don't know how to describe it, you're a campaigner, and you're campaigning for peace and justice.
Yes, I have been for many years, really.
Yeah.
Since I started up legal action against war back in 2000, and before that in 1978 when I did some work for the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament.
Wow, there's a blast from the past, the C&D. Whatever happened to them?
No, okay. They're still operating.
Are they? That'd be interesting. All right, because it's funny. I don't hear anything. There's no anti-war voices in the mainstream anyway, and those that are get smeared. So I know in Europe, Jeremy Corbyn, Viktor Orban, Marine Le Pen, UKIP. Those are the ones who are saying, look, and George Galloway, those are the ones who are saying, no war, let's have peace. And they're the ones that are being ignored and defiled and smeared, which is just absurd. There's no anti-war voices, I think, in Parliament, really. They're all a line of one so that we should spend our money on killing people in Europe versus negotiating peace and sacrificing the lives of Ukrainians in this proxy war that the US and NATO are waging against Russia. So you are involved in a anti-war campaign. Okay, so obviously you must be one of these right-wing, racist, white supremacist, Trump-tard Brexiteers just like me. It's so upside down now, right? The world. That somehow being anti-war is an extremist white supremacist position. Like, oh, Trump's the other one who's saying, look, we got to have peace. And of course, we know what they've done to him. So what is your anti-war campaign?
It goes back to 2002. I was investigating fraud and corruption in business and government and started to become aware that all was not well in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. So I looked into what was going on in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and found to my disgust that they had been conning us for 75 years over the illegality of war. They kept telling us that our wars were legal and what we were doing was authorized by the Security Council, operating under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter. And they were telling us that the upcoming war with Iraq would be legal. And I couldn't believe this. And so together with a friend or two, we went, 4 of us went to the High Court to try and obtain an injunction against Tony Blair and the cabinet to stop the Iraq War, which was coming up. It didn't work, I'm afraid, but it started me down the route of saying, no, we must not carry on like this. This is appalling, and we've got to do something about it. So I set up a group called Legal Action Against War, which was about 14, 15 MPs, QCs, and others in Parliament, and we started to try and get an all-party parliamentary group focusing on how do we stop war. That didn't last very long. We sent a letter to the ICC in The Hague, and signed by 17 leading MPs and QCs, organised by a friend of mine. And after about a month or so, almost all of them dropped out of the group. So we were left with
the MPs and QCs dropped out.
Yeah, one after the other. They really, obviously pressure was coming on from behind the scenes, telling them, that if they carried on like this, they weren't going to be getting any business from the British government or something like that.
Was this a cross-party of MPs?
Yeah. It was all sorts of people like. Let's see, Jeremy Corbyn, John McDonnell, they were 2 stalwarts, but there was others, Douglas Hogg, Alex Salmond, there was Helena Kennedy and Michael Mansfield and 1 or 2 others. It was a good spread of MPs, Elvin Floyd of Plaid Cymru, and Adam Price of Plaid Cymru. Basically anti-war MPs and QCs and lawyers.
Right.
So quite a group.
And John McDonnell, Labour Party. Douglas Hogg was a Tory party. And Alex Salmond was SNP. And then you mentioned the 2 Plaid Cymru, which is a Welsh party.
Yep. So it was a good cross-party group. Had some support from Kennedy as well, who was the Liberal Democrat at the time.
Yes.
Leader Charles Kennedy.
Okay.
So it was quite a good party group, cross-party group, but as I say, it just disappeared. Basically, the only 2 who kept with it were John McDonnell and Elvin Floyd, and they carried on for a while, but even that fell apart after a while. So we tried a number of different things, and the main activity we decided upon was to start reporting war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide to the police to try to get them to stop it. One of the things I had discovered in relation to the laws of war was that we had signed up to the UN Charter in 1945, and now there are 195 nations have agreed never to threaten or use force, and to settle all disputes peacefully. Those are the primary agreements of the UN Charter, to which 195 nations are signed up to and have ratified. And Britain, of course, just doesn't agree with any of it and doesn't uphold any of the laws that we have agreed with the rest of the world. So that was what was underpinning my disgust at the way we were going to war.
Okay, so let me get this, and then also let me. I think it's fair to say betrayed by my own political sensibilities. So I told you before we started recording, I joined the anti-apartheid movement. What I did, I was also involved in the miners' strike of the early 80s, and then when the war in Iraq was kicking off, I was involved in the anti-war campaign against that. And then, of course, the bombing, the destruction of Libya and Syria, involved in campaigns against that, and the anti-poll tax demo and stuff. So I've been very, very actively involved in political movements. And then in the last few years or so, it's been more about anti-lockdown and pro-freedom. Let people choose. Let people decide. Now, just to say what you just said, let me get this. So Section 7, Article 7 of the UN Charter, which the UK is
Article 2.
Article 2 is and the UK is a signatory of the UN Charter, says that it's against international law to threaten war against a nation and that all disputes should be settled peacefully. So
Yeah.
what happened in April last year, I mean, what's happening with the Ukraine-Russia war is a violation of Article 2 because Britain has been supplying intelligence and armaments to Ukraine, and then Boris Johnson flew over in Europe to prevent the peace deal that Turkey had mediated between Zelensky and Putin.
Yep.
Of course that, and then I know about Syria and all the way we've been providing intelligence and armaments for the Saudi Arabian genocide of the Yemenis people. Okay, so Britain's been carrying on like the imperial power.
Yeah, I mean, I discovered the other day that we have fought 83 wars since 1945, or taken part in armed conflict overseas 83 times.
Britain.
We are one of the world's worst nations at breaching international law.
Oh wow! I know about the US. How many wars and armed
But
conflicts?
Britain is doing it all the time, every year since 1945. We have broken international law. And the thing that really horrifies me is that, first of all, we don't know about these laws, and nobody in the country seems to understand how we are breaking the most important agreements we've ever made with the rest of the world. And none of our MPs know it. None of our law enforcement authorities know it. The military forces, none of them know this.
If you want to find out how, in the UK, you can legally, lawfully not pay any taxes as part of a process by which we can reassert our autonomy, our freedom, our sovereignty, then you're going to have to watch the rest of this video on Odyssey, bit.ly/CryptoRichOdyssey. I'll have the link to the specific video in the description below, bit.ly/CryptoRichOdyssey. Please share this video, spread the word, let people know so that we can once again be free and sovereign.